I got this. You're gonna help me, right?
1. Pet the puppies.
I don't think he's gonna help.
2. Pet the puppy. 3. Pet the puppy.
Yeah, they've been there. Very scientific.
Oh, your boy is such a weirdo.
How's it going, rednecks? Now, I've been going to Silver Lake for quite some time in several off-road parks, and there's one thing I can't find, and that is a good ORV flag for your vehicle. They all seem to only last me about a year, break up, and I gotta buy a new one. So that's gonna change. I went out and I bought a ton of different fabrics, and I'm gonna make my own flags, and we're gonna put them up against each other. So why don't we go inside, and I'll show you the materials that I've bought. As you can see, spread out through all my table here are all the flags and fabric I plan on using in this test. And if you take a look, I'm going to go over first that the Twisted Trails flag uses the same material as the Duneland flag, as well as the Silverback Off-Road. So I'm only going to be running one of them flags. This flag I had made back when I first started my channel. It was $25, so I'll throw that one in this. I don't know if the company that made this is still around, but I will find out before the end of this video. Silver Lake's Fabworks was local nearby Silver Lake, and this was a $20 flag. I'm going to be running this one too, just to show you. Once they get tattered and worn down like this, they don't last. The Airheads flag, I'm going to run the way it is. In the ORV Trails, you're supposed to run a 12-inch long by 9-inch tall flag, and this one happens to be 12 by 12, so it will be fine. We're going to run this flag the way it is, and unfortunately, I couldn't tell from the pictures. I thought this one was going to be orange. It ended up being red, so we're going to run this one the way it is as well. And then for all the rest of them, I'm going to get my sewing machine out. I'm going to sew up some flags, and then we're going to go over the price of all of these. And at the end, what we're going to end up doing is taking these fiberglass rods that I got, and we're going to mount all the flags on my vehicle. We're going to have a process of elimination round where I'll start off at like 10 miles an hour for 10 minutes, 20 miles an hour for 10 minutes, and we'll keep going up from there, and we'll keep checking up on the progress of the flag. So what do you say I get started? And we start sewing together all these that need to be made into flags, and then we get to have our test. Well, as you can see, I got my table all cleared off, and I got the sewing machine set up. Now, this is far from new technology, but back in the day, this thing was probably top of the line, and I like my old school stuff, so having something old like this is pretty cool to me. Now, I know it shouldn't have to be said, and it's going to be pretty obvious here in a little bit, but I don't have much time using this. I've never sewn before. I pretty much did 4 practice flags about a year ago, so you're going to see some weird techniques. And if you take a look at the table here, this is going to be some of the stuff I'm going to try and use to make it easier on myself. I got double-sided stick tape. I got some pins here. I got my iron. And then as far as cutting goes, I got a fabric cutter. I got a pair of scissors. I got a marker to mark my material, a tape measure, and then I have my cutting board or my little cutting fabric thing here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut them to 25 inches by 10 inches. And then I'm going to fold a 1/2 inch all the way around, and then I'm going to fold the material in half and sew that all together. So without further ado, let's get this landslide rolling.
Was never easy growing up. About time I read a book to distract myself from this reality. Been a couple years, I feel the same. Guess I'll never really learn this fucking game, but I'm here to play it now. I don't wanna cry again, even if I lose a friend. You say you had good intent when you hurt me. You do it all again, that's so loose to me. I don't wanna try anymore. things were easier before it got all complicated. Oh, just give me the strength to move on, 'cause I don't really wanna move on. I gotta do what's best for me. I don't wanna cry again, even if I lose a friend. You say you had good intent when you hurt me. You do it all again, that's so loose to me. I don't wanna try anymore. Yeah, I won't show up at your door in the morning. Said that it wasn't planned when you hurt me. You do it all again, that's so loose to me. Oh no.
Well, there we go, Rednecks. There are 14 flags on the table, and I gotta say, I'm not very good with that machine. And with that being said, if any of the stitching on the ones that I did start failing during the test, I will resole them. Same goes for kind of the other ones, the ones that are made up here in case the stitching just needs to be modified. You could do that at home. But with that being said, I think the next step is going to be to cut my fiberglass rods here, and then we'll get them mounted on the truck and the testing can begin. Well, Rednecks, with my flags all mounted on this very well crafted board, I got it all strapped down on the roof of my truck, and what we're going to do is we're going to start out at 10 miles an hour for 10 minutes and keep moving up in 10 mile an hour increments. So we'll do 20 mile an hour for 10 minutes, then 30 mile an hour for 10 minutes. And if you see here, what I did is on the board, I labeled all the flags with a corresponding number. So hopefully in my Osmo, you'll be able to see them numbers. And if not, either way, I'm going to go over what they look like after the 10 mile an hour and after the 20 mile an hour. So without further ado, let's get this really scientific test underway. Well, Rednecks, after 10 minutes of 10 miles an hour, that was quite boring, but they're all still there, so I'm going to move the Osmo so we can see this front row now, and then we'll do 10 minutes of 20 miles an hour. And there we go, on to 20 miles an hour. That's good. And just like that, we got a time lapse of 20 mile an hour, and they're all still there as I would expect. But now on to 30. I have a feeling that old Silver Lake flag might be struggling with the winds and everything. So what do you say we move that Osmo camera again? We'll move it back down and we'll do 10 minutes of 30 mile an hour. Kaboom. And just as expected, 30 miles an hour yielded no results. Everything looks about the same, but 40 is where I think that old Silver Lake flag might start tattering. So we'll quick go around, get a little bit of a video of that thing just so we can kind of keep track of it. But other than that, I think everything's holding up just fine. So we'll get that Osmo moved, and then we'll move on to 40 miles an hour. That's good. Man, oh man, rednecks, after 40 mile an hour, I expected that Silver Lake flag to be in a lot worse shape, but it is definitely tearing on the top corner, and in the middle it looks like it's about to separate. But other than that, I don't see anything going on with any of the other flags. So once again, we're going to move the Osmo so you can start seeing that back row again, and then we're going to kick it up to 50 mile an hour, and things I think are going to start getting interesting, so stay tuned. Well, rednecks, upon closer viewing, the little bike flag, the skull and crossbone one, is starting to let go. It's starting to tether up top here, and on the bottom the stitching's starting to let go, so nothing too bad for 40 mile an hour for just what I consider to be a bicycle flag. Well, rednecks, 50 miles an hour has yielded some results. I forgot there was another bicycle flag beside the red Pirates flag one, and it is made of this little cheap vinyl plastic stuff, and it did not last. So I grabbed this piece off the road, and if we come around back here, you can see it gave up. So flag number 4 is down for the count, and I'm hoping the Osmo got some of that. So what we'll do now is we'll move the Osmo again so we can see the front row, and then we're going to take it up a notch to 60 mile an hour. And the Silver Lake flag, I guess an update on that one. That one's still holding up. It's looking a little bit worse. I am surprised it's made it this far. So without further ado, let's get this camera moved, and we'll move on to 60 mile an hour. Onwards to 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, you're getting it. Perfect.
Well, rednecks, we're back at my parents' house where we started at, and after 20 minutes of 60 mile an hour, we have some serious results. If you take a look at flag number, what is this one? Number 8 and number 9, they're tearing at the top. Let's go up top here. They're starting to tear at the top. Now, I wouldn't consider that a complete failure, but they're definitely not doing good. There's another one doing it over there. Number 7's doing it, so we'll go take a look at that. And then sadly, before I go over there, I want to show you this. This is the brand new Silver Lake flag. Silverback Off-Road, that's Twisted Trails, and I forget the name of the other company that all sold these the same. That one is done. So that would be flag number 1. We move on to number 5 here. This is technically a boat flag, and that one's torn pretty bad. Number 6, which is a bicycle flag, is torn pretty bad. I would call that one quits. And then number 7, I don't know if I want to end this one yet. It's torn pretty bad up top here, like I said. The fabric's pretty fragile and tears pretty easy. And then we'll go on to the old Silver Lake flag, and I would say that one's done. So we eliminated quite a bit of flags off of that run, and now we're gonna have to do a 70 mile an hour run. So I'm gonna get rid of all the ones up there that are done, and we'll guess I'll see you guys on the highway. Well, as owner, operator, and editor of this channel, I have decided to make a few decisions. And one of those decisions is I'm only eliminating 3 of the flags. 2 of them are the bike flags, the skull one and the plastic one. And then I'm going to eliminate the old Silver Lake flag because that thing suffered enough. So with that being said, what I did is with the airhead one here, or the boat flag, I ended up just cutting off everything that was fraying, and then I ran a stitch line all the way from there down and all the way around to give that one a better chance. And I left the Silverback Off-Road or Silver Lake flag, the newer style, on, and I just put it right here in position 1 because when I took it out of here it broke off, so it'll be a little shorter than the other ones, but that shouldn't influence it too much. The only other thing I'm going to change is I'm going to put a screw in each one of these. I'm just going to put it in on an angle like that. With me going on the highway, it's going to be a lot harder to recover these, so I don't want them falling off. So, alright rednecks, I'm at the gas station. I'm all gassed up. I'm going to get the Osmo turned on, and then we're going to hop on the highway. So yeah, I think these things are going to struggle to hold on. I don't know if it's catching it on the camera, but the noise these things make at 70 miles an hour with having that many flags above your head, that is incredible. Well, rednecks, after 10 minutes at 60 miles an hour stuck in traffic and another 10 minutes at 70, the flags are holding up pretty good, all for the exception of the Silver Lake flag right there, and unfortunately the Bolt flag is starting to let go. There is a little bit of fraying starting on some of the ones up front here. With that being said, I am pretty impressed with how some of these things are holding together, considering the force on my lumbar is so great that it started breaking, so I had to redo my strapping to help support that so it don't break away. So I got another 20-minute drive home. It'll be interesting to see how these things hold up. So I'm actually going to head into Taco Bell here, grab something to eat, and then I'll head back home and we'll review what's going on with these flags. Man, oh man, rednecks, that was close to letting go, so I'm glad we didn't decide to go any further. With that being said, once again, I'm going to get this thing dismounted. We'll get all the flags pulled off. I'm going to bring them inside, and then we're going to review how they did. So how I plan on grading the flags is a point system. The higher the points, the better they do. The first category is going to be price, 10 being the cheapest, 1 being the most expensive. Moving on to cut, fold, and sewing is going to be based off of my minimal experience dealing with fabrics. And the last category is going to be place, 14 being for first place, 1 for last place. So in total, the highest score you can get is 39, and the lowest being 5. Starting with flag number 1, which was the Silverback Off-Road flag, it ended up with a price point of 3, as they averaged around $10 a flag. It got an automatic 15 points for the cut, fold, and sew, as they are pre-manufactured, and it ended up placing 12th, giving it 3 points in the place, with a grand total of 21 points. Moving on to flag 2, which was the Postal Redneck flag I had made a long time ago for $25, gave it a price point of 1, an automatic 15 points for cut, fold, and sew as it was pre-manufactured. It ended up placing 4th, giving it 11 points in place with a total of 27 points. Flag 3 is kind of the same story as flag 2, with the price being $20 a flag. It got 1 point in the price slot, 15 points for the cut, fold, and sew, and it ended up placing 5th, giving it 10 points and a grand total of 26 points. Now flag 4 was $13 a piece, giving it 2 points in the price. It got an automatic 15 for being prefabricated and ended up placing 14th, giving it 1 point with a grand total of only 18. With the price tag of flag 5 being $18, I gave it a 1 in the price. Cut, fold, and sew got an automatic 15. And it ended up placing 10th, giving it 5 points and a grand total of 21 points. Flag 6 being $7 a flag, I gave it a 5-point rating in price. It got an automatic 15 for being pre-manufactured and ended up in 13th place, giving it 2 points and a total of 22 altogether. Flag 7 at a price tag of $6 for the material, about $1 per flag, gets a 10 for price. The material was thin and hard to work with, so I only gave it a 2 for cut. It didn't want to fold or stay folded, so it got a 2 in that category. It was hard to sew in a straight line, so it got a 4 in that category. And ended up in 3rd place, giving it 12 points and a total of 30 points. Flag number 8 was a little bit more pricey for the material at $15. And per flag, it was $2.50, giving it a 9 for the price. As far as the cut, fold, and sew, this stuff was extremely easy to work with, so it got 5 in every category there, and ended up in 7th place, giving it 8 points and a grand total of 32. Flag number 9's fabric was bought at Joann's Fabric for only $4, and I could make 4 flags, making it $1 a piece, so I gave it a 10 for price. It was relatively easy or middle of the road to work with, but as far as sewing went, the needle kept jamming up due to having to use the double-sided tape. And when it comes to placement, it ended up in 11th place, giving it 4 points and a grand total of 21 points. Flag number 10's material was $6, and per flag came out to $1 a flag, giving it a 10 in price. As far as cut and fold, it did terrible. It was really hard to work with, and as far as sewing went, it laid flat and allowed me to work it pretty easy. And as far as placement, it ended up in an astounding 2nd place, giving it 13 points and a grand total of 31 points. Flag 11's material was around $9 and came out to $1.50 per flag, giving it a price points of 10. As far as cutting and folding, it was middle of the road, and sewing was a little bit easier. It ended up placing 8th, giving it 7 points and a grand total of 27. Flag 12's material was around $10 and $1.50 per flag, giving it a 10 in price. As far as cutting, it was really solid stuff and easy to cut, but when it came to folding, it was too stiff a material and was hard to work with. Once you got it all laid out and sewed, it was kind of middle of the road, so it only got 3 points for that, and ended up 1st place with 14 points, giving it a grand total of 34 points. Flag number 13's material was around $6, and that came out to about $1 per flag, giving it a 10 in the price department. As far as cutting and folding, it was relatively easy, but when it came to sewing, the material just didn't want to lay flat. It was hard to work with, so it only ended up with a 2, and it ended up placing 6th place, giving it 9 points and a grand total of 29 altogether. Trying to be fair with flag number 14, I gave it 3 points for the price, as flag 1, which was the Silverback Off-Road, Twisted Trails, and all the other ones, were around $10 a piece. It gained an automatic 15 points in the cut, fold, and sew for being pre-manufactured, and ended up placing 9th place, giving it 6 points and a grand total of 24.
Well, there we go. With all the numbers out and all the flags spread out, it's pretty obvious which flags failed miserably and which ones did really good. But there's truly only 4 flags I want to focus on, and it's going to sound odd, but flag 1, flag 3, flag 8, and flag 12. And here are those 4 flags laid out. And you're going to think it's weird that flag number 1 ended up in this mix, and there's a few reasons for that. It's not a bad purchase if you're going to leisurely drive around or trail ride. It's usually readily available where you're off-roading at, and it helps support the company that is in that area or the trail system itself, where I'm pretty sure Twisted Trails is privately owned. Now, the second flag I would suggest is flag number 3. This happens to be Silver Lake's Fabworks, and for $20, it's twice the price of these, but I feel like it's 10 times as good. And if you do end up going to Silver Lake's Fabwork and buying a flag, mention me. Not for a discount, because it'll be hilarious. He has no idea who Postal Redneck is. For the last two flags, flag number 8 and flag number 12, I ended up sewing together. And I want to bring these up because if you're a beginner in sewing like me, this was very easy material to work with, and ending in 7th place is not bad. It ended up taking a pretty good beating, and if you're better at sewing, I would highly suggest getting this material. This stuff was harder to work with as far as someone as inexperienced as me, but that held up great and ended up in 1st place and realistically shows no sign of wear. So if you're going to make a flag, one of these two materials would be highly suggested from me. And now I'm going to go over 2 things that you should adjust and what I'm going to adjust if I end up making my own out of these flags. Now with the 2 flags I purchased sitting next to a majority of the ones I made, you're going to notice a theme. If you take a look at the corners, all of mine are tearing, as well as where the pole comes in, I had too much material at the top and they all tore. And if we come over to the ones that I had made, they did not sew or had the stitching really close to the top, so there was no area for it to start tearing, as well as they ended up folding the corners over, and I believe that saved the flag from tearing at a higher speed and actually made it last a little bit longer. Well, there you go. This was quite the fun experiment for me, and hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something if you were interested in building your own ORV flag. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and get back to work. I also wanted to add that this stuff worked amazing for adhering the flags to the pole. Not one of them let go. So if you're interested, it's just called Amazing Goop, and it was Plumber's Contact Adhesive.